อย่าตะเปะ
ดูเสียงชาวบ้าน
Tenang ya, kita angkat anaknya dulu. Oke.
It's clear that every business and home that was on the ground floor has been destroyed.
Water is rising faster than anyone can escape. Right now, across southern Thailand, families are trapped on rooftops watching their entire neighborhoods disappear beneath muddy torrents. What started as heavy rain has transformed into something far more terrifying, a disaster that's rewriting weather records and pushing rescue teams beyond their breaking point. The numbers are staggering. In just 4 days, Hat Yai recorded 630 millimeters of rainfall, the highest in 3 centuries. Streets turned into violent rivers within minutes. Cars floated away like paper boats. Entire communities had less than 5 minutes to flee. This wasn't the gradual flooding people prepare for. This was an explosive surge that gave no warning. One family's escape defied all odds. As water rushed through their ground floor, reaching chest height in seconds, a father grabbed a hammer and smashed through their metal roof. One by one, he pushed his family members through the opening, including his 70-year-old mother, into the pouring rain above. They clung to the rooftop for hours until rescue boats finally reached them. The drone footage of their rescue shows a volunteer slipping into the torrent, disappearing beneath the surface before fighting his way back to the boat. Everyone survived, but the terror in their eyes tells a story that will haunt them forever. Across 12 provinces, from Nakhon Si Thammarat to Trang, the disaster keeps expanding. Low-lying agricultural plains have become instant lakes. Fishing towns battle both inland floods and massive ocean swells. Rice fields that feed thousands of families now lie buried under meters of contaminated water. The destruction spans beyond simple flooding. This is a complete transformation of the landscape. The infrastructure collapse adds another layer of horror. 14 rural routes remain completely cut off. Bridges that stood for decades are crumbling under the pressure of saturated soil. Power lines dangle uselessly above the water. Rescue teams report villages that can only be reached by boat, if weather permits. Some communities haven't had electricity or communication for days, leaving families in total isolation. Hat Yai, the economic heart of southern Thailand, faces unprecedented devastation. The city recorded 595 millimeters of rain in just 3 days, surpassing historic floods from 2000 and 2010. Commercial streets where thousands once shopped now serve as channels for fast-moving currents. Rescue boats navigate between buildings where traffic once flowed. Officials issued a rare red flag alert, warning conditions could deteriorate at any moment. The human toll keeps climbing. More than 444,000 people directly affected. At least 25 confirmed deaths, with many more missing. Thousands of homes sit underwater. Shop owners watch helplessly as entire inventories float away.
It's clear that every business and home that was on the ground floor has been destroyed.
The death toll has risen now from yesterday's 300 figures to 410.
For rural residents and small business owners, recovery seems impossibly distant. Inside Hat Yai Hospital, medical staff face nightmare conditions. The first and second floors are flooded. Clean water systems have failed. Nurses use flashlights to care for newborns. Doctors wade through waist-deep water to reach critical patients. Some wards have become isolated platforms surrounded by contaminated water. These scenes belong in disaster films, not in one of Thailand's most important medical facilities. The airport tells its own story of chaos. More than 1,000 passengers remain stranded inside the terminal, sleeping on benches and staircases. Hotels throughout the city report flooded lobbies and dead elevators, trapping tourists on upper floors. Supply chains have collapsed. Medicine, food, emergency equipment, everything is bottlenecked in a city cut off from the outside world. Meteorologists explain the perfect storm behind this catastrophe. A persistent low-pressure system draws moisture from both the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea. The result creates what experts call training storms, rain band after rain band hitting the same regions without pause. Ground saturation reached maximum capacity days ago. Reservoirs overflow. Even moderate rainfall now triggers immediate flooding. Thailand's response reveals the scale of this emergency. The military deployed the aircraft carrier Chakri Narubet, rarely used for civilian operations, equipped with helicopters, medical teams, and floating kitchens. This represents one of the largest humanitarian operations in Thai history. Emergency shelters opened across every affected province, but challenges multiply daily. Inside evacuation centers, families crowd into small spaces sharing limited resources. Children struggle with displacement trauma, while elderly residents face increased health risks from humidity and stress. Medical teams report rising cases of infections and respiratory illnesses. Clean water grows scarcer by the hour. Volunteers wade through chest-deep water delivering supplies to those unable to evacuate. The economic devastation will echo for years. Livestock pens destroyed, wells contaminated, rice storage buildings collapsed under flood pressure. Urban shop owners watch businesses built over decades disappear overnight. Everyday operations remain suspended deepens financial wounds that may never heal. Rural communities face particularly harsh realities. Some villages report losing everything. Homes, savings, livelihoods vanished in hours. Fruit plantations that took years to cultivate now rot underwater. Shrimp farms that supported entire families lie buried under mud. These aren't temporary setbacks. These are life-altering losses affecting thousands. Transportation networks across southern Thailand remain paralyzed. Major highways disappeared underwater. Bridges collapsed without warning. Ferry services suspended due to dangerous waves. Train operators inspect tracks for hidden erosion damage. Even where roads appear passable, invisible washouts make travel potentially lethal. Officials plead with residents to avoid all unnecessary movement. Songkhla province reveals the disaster's true scope. 465,000 people affected. 536 kilometers of roads destroyed. 47 schools severely damaged. 8 hospitals compromised. Some rural villages transformed into islands accessible only by boat when weather permits.
1 million people who have been forced from their homes by devastating flooding.
1.4 million people affected overall with the flood and the landslide that has occurred.
Emergency crews describe areas as completely unreachable, even with specialized amphibious vehicles. The danger continues escalating. Soil moisture at maximum capacity means any additional rainfall triggers immediate flooding. Hillside communities face increasing landslide risks as rain softens already saturated ground. New storm systems form offshore, threatening to strike already devastated provinces again. The next 72 hours could determine whether this crisis stabilizes or spirals further out of control. Daily survival has become a test of endurance. Families move furniture to upper floors, creating makeshift barriers against rising water. Food supplies dwindle. Electricity remains cut in entire neighborhoods, plunging communities into darkness. Parents keep children close, flashlights ready, listening for any change in water levels through the night. One of the most haunting images shows residents clinging to telecommunication cables suspended above raging floods. They inched along these wires for nearly an hour, death waiting below, until people from a balcony managed to pull them to safety. Such desperate measures highlight how quickly normal life transformed into pure survival. Volunteers demonstrate remarkable courage. Using personal boats, they navigate dangerous currents delivering rice and water to stranded families. Neighbors share their last supplies with those in greater need. Strangers risk their lives pulling others from flooding homes. These acts of solidarity shine brightest during the darkest moments. Hat Yai sits in a natural basin, making drainage nearly impossible. Massive runoff from neighboring provinces continues pouring in. Aerial footage reveals a transformed landscape. Only rooftops break the surface of endless muddy water. Experts warn water levels may remain high for weeks, not days. For thousands still trapped, time is running out. The Thai military's full mobilization speaks to the unprecedented nature of this disaster. Helicopters work around the clock evacuating critical cases. Amphibious vehicles push through flooded streets where possible. Soldiers distribute supplies while coordinating with local volunteers who know their communities best. Yet even this massive response struggles against the sheer scale of devastation. Weather patterns show no immediate relief. The low-pressure system continues pulling moisture inland. Coastal winds generate massive waves, creating dual threats for seaside communities already battling inland floods. Each weather update brings fresh warnings. Each hour brings new challenges for exhausted rescue teams. Communities demonstrate remarkable resilience despite overwhelming odds. Makeshift communication networks help families locate missing members. Local knowledge guides rescue boats through submerged neighborhoods. Traditional flood preparation methods save lives where modern infrastructure failed. Southern Thailand's people refuse to surrender to circumstances beyond their control. Long-term recovery appears daunting. Contaminated wells must be cleaned. Collapsed roads need complete reconstruction. Damaged schools require extensive repairs before children can return. Agricultural land needs months to dry before replanting becomes possible. The economic impact will ripple through these provinces for years. International attention grows as the scale becomes clear. Climate experts point to this disaster as evidence of intensifying weather patterns across Southeast Asia. What once happened every few decades now threatens to become regular occurrences. Communities must adapt to this new reality or face repeated devastation. Tonight, southern Thailand remains locked in crisis. Rescue operations continue despite exhaustion. Families wait anxiously for news of missing relatives. Water levels fluctuate unpredictably. Hope mingles with desperation as communities unite against unprecedented challenges. The courage displayed daily proves that human spirit rises highest when circumstances sink lowest. As this disaster continues unfolding, verified information becomes crucial. Understanding current conditions helps families make life-saving decisions. Tracking weather patterns provides vital warning time. Supporting rescue efforts requires accurate assessment of needs. Every piece of reliable data contributes to saving lives. Southern Thailand faces its greatest natural disaster in living memory. The images are heartbreaking, the statistics overwhelming, the personal stories both tragic and inspiring. Yet through it all, the strength of community bonds proves unbreakable. Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers becoming heroes, a region refusing to surrender. Recovery will take months, possibly years. Rebuilding requires more than replacing structures. It demands rebuilding lives, livelihoods, and hope itself. The international community watches, ready to assist. But ultimately, southern Thailand's people will write their own recovery story, one day at a time. This disaster reminds us how quickly life can change, how nature's power humbles human planning, how communities reveal their true character during crisis. Southern Thailand's flooding will be remembered not just for its destruction, but for the countless acts of courage that emerged from its depths. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.